Thank you for entrusting me with your daughter for a whole year. After her trip overseas, my sister-in-law came straight to our home and, to my astonishment, tried to take my daughter, who was about to turn 1. She thanked me for caring for her daughter over the past year, but in a rush of confusion, I had to stop her and explain that the child was actually my own. She didn't seem to understand the situation fully and left bewildered, standing in the yard. Her astonishing claim sent chills through me. Once she saw my genuine shock, her expression turned pale, and this misunderstanding marked the start of a major uproar caused by my sister-in-law. It all began around 14 months ago when Natalie, my 27-year-old sister-in-law, unexpectedly returned to her parents' home with a newborn. Around the same time, my husband was transferred abroad. Concerned about raising our small child in a foreign environment, Natalie expressed her worries. She also revealed she was pregnant and hoped our children would grow up to be friends and play together. Natalie was very outgoing and communicated with me effortlessly, despite me being 3 years her senior. This made me hopeful that we could have a good relationship. After my child was born, we settled in a separate house while Natalie lived with her parents nearby. I thought this proximity meant we could easily get along and frequently meet. However, I soon realized my optimism was misplaced. After moving back with her parents, Natalie's true nature began to emerge. "Anna, I'm in a bind and can't look after my baby today. Can you help?" she asked one day, claiming her father had injured his back. I agreed to help out of sympathy, but this soon turned into a regular pattern, with Natalie frequently finding excuses to leave her child with me. This wasn't the only issue. One day, she again asked me to care for her child. "Natalie, you're not being honest with me, are you?" I confronted her. Her over-the-top reaction made me sigh. "Do you think I'm clueless? Your father has never had back problems in his life." "I don't remember," she claimed, seemingly unable to keep track of her own fabrications. But that wasn't the end of it. "A neighbor mentioned seeing you out in town today," I pointed out. "Who snitched on me?" Natalie retorted, clearly agitated. "No, I mean, it must have been someone who looks like me." "Who do you believe? That old lady or your own sister-in-law?" Despite her desperate attempt to sway me, I was unmoved by her poor acting. "You need to start taking responsibility for your own child." "I can't keep doing this for you," I firmly told her. "Why are you being so mean?" Natalie responded, throwing a tantrum like a child. But her outburst quickly shifted as a new idea struck her. "Fine, I'll make you want to take care of my child on your own." "What do you mean?" I asked. But she just smirked, picked up her baby, and left our house. Feeling uneasy, I reached out to my husband and his parents for advice about Natalie, but it was like talking to a wall. She showed no signs of remorse or understanding. Later, Natalie's plan became apparent. One afternoon, as I was resting on the couch with my pregnant belly, I heard a baby crying. It sounded very close. Just as I was wondering about the noise, my phone rang. "Hello, this is Anna." "Hey, Anna. Please take care of my child." Natalie's voice came through cheerfully. "Didn't I tell you last time that I won't be helping you anymore?" I responded, irritated. "It's too late. I already left my child at your doorstep a while ago." She laughed, as if amused by my predicament. Shocked, I rushed to the door and found a baby crying on my doorstep. "Natalie, what are you thinking?" "Well, you are being mean, so I had no choice," she replied gleefully, as if she had just pulled a successful prank. "I told you I'd make you want to take care of my child. You wouldn't just leave a baby on the doorstep, right? Stop joking." "Where are you now?" I demanded. "Guess. Though I suppose it's hard for you to go out since you're pregnant." She laughed again and hung up abruptly. My attempts to call her back were futile. Her phone was turned off. Despite my protests, when she finally returned in the evening, my words fell on deaf ears. This scenario repeated several times until I reluctantly began to check the doorstep and take in the baby whenever Natalie called. Natalie unapologetically claimed she was doing this for her own amusement, showing a complete disregard for my feelings and well-being. Natalie believed she was doing me a favor by giving me practice for my upcoming childbirth and expected gratitude in return. "I'm not asking for thanks, but shouldn't you at least appreciate what I'm doing?" she would imply. Her attitude and actions became increasingly stressful for me, and this continued for 7 months until a surprising turn of events happened a year ago. Natalie left a note saying going abroad for a bit and then disappeared without further explanation. No one knew exactly where she had gone, but given her history of spontaneous trips funded by her part-time job, it wasn't entirely unexpected. My husband mentioned it casually. "It's nothing new. She probably went to see her husband since he was transferred overseas." We assumed she had taken her baby to meet its father. Amid our own family challenges, we seldom spoke of Natalie. Shortly before her disappearance, I went into labor 3 weeks early and was rushed to the hospital, unprepared for the sudden arrival of our beloved daughter. Amid the chaos of an unexpected delivery and adjusting to new parenthood, any conversation about Natalie slowly faded from our daily concerns. A year had passed since her departure, and just as my daughter's first birthday was approaching, our peaceful life was suddenly disrupted. "I'm back." Natalie's familiar voice rang out from the unlocked front door. "Natalie, you're back from overseas?" I managed, but she brushed past my words, heading straight toward my daughter. "Thanks for taking care of my daughter for a year," she said, then abruptly attempted to take my child from me. "Hey, what are you doing with my child?" I exclaimed, quickly pulling her back. Natalie looked confused and retorted, "Come on, just because you've had her for a year doesn't mean you get to act all motherly. This child is genuinely my daughter." Both of us were perplexed. "Natalie, didn't you take your own child with you overseas?" I asked. "What are you talking about?" "I left her in your yard," she replied, making the situation even more baffling. It seemed our conversation was completely misaligned, but I sensed that something terrible might have happened. "You said you left a child for a year when you went abroad? You left her in my yard?" I questioned, trying to piece together the alarming scenario. "That's what I've been saying. At that time, I had just given birth to this child and was hospitalized due to poor health. I really don't know where your child is now," I explained. Shocked by the revelation, Natalie's face turned pale as she stuttered in disbelief. This was serious, and it was clear what we needed to do next. "We need to call the police," I suggested, realizing the gravity of the misunderstanding and the potential danger it posed. As I reached for my phone, Natalie grabbed my arm, her hands trembling. "Wait, please don't call the police." "But how can we not?" "This is serious," I responded, clearly conflicted. "Please, I'll be in huge trouble if you do," she pleaded, her voice filled with terror. Sensing the gravity of the situation, I decided to first inform our family. I called our in-laws and my husband to explain what was happening. However, when I turned around after ending the call, Natalie had vanished. I couldn't believe she had run away the moment I looked away. My frustration with her irresponsible behavior intensified. After receiving my call, my husband and in-laws quickly gathered at our house. My husband revealed that there had indeed been a baby left in our yard while I was giving birth and hospitalized. He had minimal interaction with Natalie's child and, assuming she had taken the baby with her abroad, had contacted the police to care for the unknown infant. With all our focus on our newborn, this incident had completely slipped our minds. By the time Natalie returned, her child would have been about 1.5 years old, and it's likely she mistook my child for her own due to their close ages. After consulting with the police, we were relieved to learn the baby was safely placed in an orphanage. I decided to leave the care of Natalie's child to my husband and in-laws. More concerning was Natalie's unusual level of panic. It seemed there was more to her story than met the eye. My intuition proved correct when I decided to take decisive action, realizing it was time to teach Natalie a lesson. I had a trump card against Natalie that I hadn't been sure I'd ever use, but there was no need to hesitate now. A week later, with everything prepared, I called Natalie. After several rings, she hesitantly answered. "Natalie, your child has been found. You can relax now. Come back home," I said, baiting her. Believing my words, Natalie arrived casually at our house and rang the doorbell. "Phew, I was so worried. Glad she's been found," she laughed carelessly as she entered our living room. However, she was met by an unexpected sight. What the? Asher and Joseph, why are you guys here? On the sofa sat Natalie's husband, or rather, her ex-husband, Asher, and on the floor was her affair partner, Joseph. Asher frowned deeply at his ex-wife, glaring at her while Joseph looked on with a pitiable face, as if he was about to cry. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Natalie turned to make her escape from our house. But my father-in-law, a large man, was standing guard at the entrance, effectively blocking her way out. Consequently, Natalie ended up sitting on the floor next to her affair partner, Joseph, as they awaited the unfolding of events. As Natalie defiantly puffed out her cheeks, Asher, her ex-husband, gave her a cold look. If you can't even take care of the child, then you should give up custody and return the child support payments, he declared firmly. I had contacted Asher earlier, and he revealed a shocking truth. Everything Natalie had told us about him being transferred overseas was completely false. They had divorced due to her infidelity. Despite this, Natalie had managed to secure custody of their child and had been receiving substantial child support payments from Asher. This was why Natalie was so desperate to stop me from calling the police. She feared the consequences if it was discovered that she wasn't actually caring for their child. Anna, you have to help me. I can't pay back the child support, Natalie pleaded, her voice tinged with desperation. But you made me take care of the baby, didn't you? There's no escaping that, I responded, my patience wearing thin. Don't make stuff up. Where's your proof? She screamed hysterically. Calmly, I showed her the footage from my phone. It captured Natalie leaving the baby at our doorstep and walking away. When did you take this? She gasped. Since you started leaving your child on my doorstep, I installed a security camera for safety. It would be terrible if something happened to the baby, I explained. This footage was my trump card, recorded in anticipation of a moment like this, though I had hoped never to use it. This footage proves you haven't been fulfilling your parental duties. Wouldn't the child be happier being raised by Asher? I pointed out. Natalie, biting her lip and growling lowly, suddenly clung to Joseph, who was sitting next to her, bursting into tears. Help me, Joseph! Everyone's bullying me, she wailed. However, Joseph, who seemed to have only considered Natalie a casual fling, gently pushed her away. Well, I have another family, he said dismissively. You're betraying me too? Who do you think paid for our around-the-world cruise? So the child support went on a splurge around the world, huh? Natalie covered her mouth in shock as the realization of her slip-up dawned on her. So when you said you were going abroad for a year, you were actually on a world cruise with your lover, using up the child support? And now you can't pay Asher back, I clarified, the pieces falling into place. Yeah, so what? Is that so bad? Natalie asked defiantly. I wouldn't say it's good, I retorted, not holding back my criticism. Then I'll have to call the police. Wait, please. I'm sorry, just forgive me. Natalie finally showed remorse, sobbing and repeatedly prostrating herself on the floor. However, I couldn't afford to be lenient. Just so you know, I won't forget how you've treated your child and me. You better reflect on your actions, I stated firmly. After my declaration, Natalie was taken away by the police. She was arrested and her daughter was returned to Asher, who regained custody. Natalie is now required to make reparations for her actions, facing the legal consequences of her deceit and negligence. Natalie now faces a challenging road ahead. As part of the court's decision, she is required to pay a monthly child support of $800 until the child reaches adulthood. Following her arrest, not only has she been ostracized by my husband and his family, but she also faces a tough journey if she's released from jail. Joseph, her affair partner, didn't escape consequences either. His wife has filed for divorce and is seeking compensation for his actions. As for my family, we are experiencing a peaceful and harmonious life. My husband and I, along with our daughter, enjoy each day filled with joy and new discoveries. Watching our daughter grow and flourish has brought a renewed sense of happiness and fulfillment to our lives. Each moment with her is a precious chapter in our ongoing journey as a family.